here, I don't give a damn.
Committee should be called boycott. You may even volunteer.
A Streetcar Named Desire is a 1951 film based on the highly successful and critically acclaimed Tennessee Williams Pulitzer Prize-winning play A Streetcar Named Desire, directed by Ella Kazan. The film revolves around Blanche Dubois, an aging Southern belle who has quit her job as a teacher and moves from Mississippi to New Orleans to her sister Stella's place. Blanche causes trouble for the Kowalski household as Stanley becomes increasingly hostile towards Blanche and Stella, as well as looking at the psychological breakdown that Blanche suffers as she becomes increasingly unstable throughout the film. The streetcar driving this film is the acting. The performances by the actors are some of the greatest ever put to screen, specifically Marlon Brando and Vivien Leigh. Marlon Brando would become a star because of this film, and for good reason. Brando is superb as this gross, barbaric-like, abusive Stanley Kowalski. Brando is mesmerizing in this role, and while I do prefer his performance in The Godfather, which is actually my favorite performance of all time, this has to be my second favorite performance of his, and this has to be the greatest debut performance by an actor of all time, at least from what comes to mind. He is fantastic in this film. The brutish drunken Stanley is played to perfection by Brando, from his iconic line, "Stella!" to the moment he explodes at the dinner table. Brando steals every scene he is in, and yet Brando is accompanied by an actress who steals every scene she is in. Vivien Leigh is also fantastic as Blanche Dubois. Blanche is an aging Southern belle who is mentally disturbed. Leigh is brilliant in her performance as Blanche and rightfully won her second Oscar for her performance as Blanche. And like her first Academy Award winning role as Scarlett O'Hara, she is just as great. In fact, Blanche can even be seen as an extension of Scarlett in a post-Rhett Butler world for her. Leigh gives one of the greatest performances by an actress of all time. Interestingly, the role of Blanche was initially offered to her as Gone with the Wind co-star Olivia de Havilland, and while she is a very fine actress and is still going strong at 99, I am glad that she turned down the role, as Leigh completely owns this performance. Leigh's performance, along with Brando's, is one for the ages. Both Brando and Leigh are some of the greatest actors of all time, and for good reason, as clearly shown in this film. A Streetcar Named Desire also contains some brilliant cinematography. The way the film uses lighting and shadows to its advantage is very film noir-like, as these shadows symbolize the despair that Blanche can go through as her reality slowly crumbles, as well as representing the shady lifestyles and secrets of the character. Reality is a major theme in this film, as Blanche often tackles the concept of reality. In a great moment with Mitch, Blanche explains why she lies as she refuses to accept the reality that she lives in as she adopts a whole Southern Belle persona that Blanche puts on is another escape, as she acts more superior than she actually is. This leads to conflicts with Stanley, as Stanley, who hates Blanche and her fabrications, tries to expose her. A constant battle between reality and fantasy is played out. The whole flower of death scene can be looked at as an illusion, as the way Mitch looks at Blanche as she opens the door does seem to reveal a sense of confusion in his face. Fantasy that Blanche goes through emerges throughout the film as she retreats into her delusional mind and alters her world to fit these delusions. The film for the time was extremely controversial. The whole issues of mental breakdowns, family abuse, alluding to rape, alcoholism, were all incredibly controversial. But it helped weaken censorship, though unfortunately the censors did affect this film, most notably with the ending, which was changed so that Stanley would be punished for what he did and not get away with it. This is obvious when Stella grabs her newborn baby and leaves Stanley. A Streetcar Named Desire also contains a great score that raises attention during the film, as well as perfectly representing the character of Blanche. What I noticed that is highly unusual in film is the way it is shot. It has a very theatrical-like feel to it, with it being shot on very few sets. The interior of the Kowalski home and the exterior are where the majority of the film is shot, with a couple of brief exceptions. Being shot on these very few sets give it a more personal feel to it, as well as making the Kowalski home itself a bit of a character, as by the end of the film it has a familiar feel to it. Few sets here are very well put together. A Streetcar Named Desire is a very worthy adaptation of Tennessee Williams' iconic play, and it receives an A. Thanks guys, and if you enjoyed this, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more.